All right, guys, welcome back to the Regal Gentleman YouTube channel. Today we've got Nick in the chair. How are you, mate?
Doing well.
You good?
Yeah,
good, mate. So, what are we doing today? What's the plan?
So I'm looking to get a short haircut for the summer.
Okay.
I'm an entrepreneur, so for me, business kind of sense is really important. So maybe something that's short, but nothing aggressive.
Okay, yeah.
I'm thinking maybe like a low fade or a taper, but I'm keen to hear your suggestions.
Yeah, sure.
And I do want maybe a bit of length on the top, maybe a bit less than this, but with texture so I can play around.
Yeah, sure.
But I want something that's really easy to style.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah. Well, first of all, so we've got a sort of summer cut, so essentially short. Nothing. I wouldn't say a crop or not like that though. Right? Nothing too short. You still want to be able to put some product in there. But we've got to think of this kind of like what field are you in terms of entrepreneur? Tech. Okay.
So it could be a bit casual.
I was going to say, does it have to be as kind of strict as what it would be if you were a lawyer or something like that? Right. Okay. Now, usually fades aren't classed as what would you call it, like professional looking, as they say. You know, I don't know who says that, but that's what I always get told, right? But anyone comes in wants to take a professional haircut, or you're in that business kind of element, you don't want to go too short. So maybe a taper would be a good option. I think it's at the kind of in between, whereas you're still seeing scalp exposure, you're still seeing something, you know, some sort of skin, you know, within the haircut, but it's not aggressive, as you said. Like, and I always think of aggressive as being obviously very, very short, very high and tight kind of hairstyle. So maybe we'll stay away from that. Maybe we'll still keep most of the back and sides with the shadow of hair, but then obviously maybe on the sides, around the sideburns and the neck, we could maybe just put them right out into nothing. It would be a quite nice finish to the haircut. And then on the top, what about if it was just long enough to be able to put product in?
Yeah, that'd be good.
You know what I mean? So even if you've got, like, say, get out the shower, you haven't got time to maybe dry your hair thoroughly, you can put a bit of product in, just kind of ruffle it, and it still looks nice. You know what I mean? And as the haircut grows out, you get longevity within the haircut as well. So you've still got a nice short back and sides. You've got the taper, which is always a good one for longevity, because obviously the sideburns and the neck are always the things that grow out kind of scruffy, if you want to call it that. And then obviously on the top, we'll put loads of texture. And you've got the perfect hair for it as well. Thick, straight, and as you can see, it moves around quite easily as well. So that's, I think for the hairstyle that you want, it's absolutely perfect.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. Yeah, all right, cool. That was a really good consultation, that, mate. You knew exactly what you wanted. That was great. Thank you, man. Well, let's get you gowned up, and yeah, we'll get started.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. So we've just wet Nick's hair down, and I'm going to start on the top. Now, one of the reasons I'm starting on the top is because I want to get that perfect length. And then everything else will just kind of blend into the top, because the top is the main focus for me. It's about the texture, the pliability of the hairstyle that he wants to go for, but also it's the thing that sets the shape off as well. So when we start on the top, it allows me to set the sort of precedent of what length we should go to on the sides and the back as well. And also on the previous haircut Nick's had done, it looks as though it's been taken very, very high as well through here. So again, if you get a client in the chair who maybe has got a haircut that you wouldn't potentially go as high on, depending on what he asked for, but just looking at the minute, as you can see, it looks very much more kind of in the middle length, if you know what I mean. Most of the top is here, and these bits are being taken quite short, probably because of how spiky the hair is, but obviously, you know, you can always work with that anyway. But I always like to cut the top first for that reason as well. It lets me create the haircut before we start doing anything else. The back and sides, as we know, it finishes off the haircut, but it's good for Nick to see exactly what he's going to be left with. Obviously, Nick knows what a number 1 or a half or whatever looks like on the back and sides. He's aware of that already. I'm pretty sure he is, because his hair's quite short. But maybe he's not had this hairstyle before. So it's always a good one to work with the clients on, like pick the length with them first, let them see the haircut come into life. But also it's good for me because I can start seeing visually exactly what we're going to do with it as well. And also for this particular hairstyle that we're going to create with the sides being cut so short as well, it allows me to use these as a bit of a guide as well. So again, there's a lot of good benefits from starting from the top. But the main one that I want to do for today, well, mainly for myself and for Nick, is that visual element of Nick seeing the haircut come into life before we do any back and sides. Because in that way we can decide how short the back and side should go, whether he goes down to a 2, a 1.5, even a 1. Potentially where scalp exposure is coming through as well. Maybe that could be a 1 on Nick's, maybe a half. So it's something that we can do throughout, like after the top's been cut. So I'm going to start at the crowns. We're going to isolate the crown first, as I always do that, because the crown can be the most difficult thing to get right. If you go too short at the crown, as I'm sure any regular viewers of the channel have watched videos where crowns have been taken too short, as we all know, it doesn't look good from the profile angle. you only need to take away, like if you look at Nick's crown, very smack bang in the middle. Like Nick's hair is perfect for this look, right? But he's also got that kind of hair that I'm sure any hairdressers and barbers watching this will see that it's such a good head of hair, really. You can do a lot of things with it. I know it might feel uncomfortable getting your hair praised, mate, but it is a good head of hair. You know, it's that kind of hair that it moves around very easily. It's soft enough that you can kind of manipulate, maybe even put a bit of bend in there. You could also maybe spike it up, probably flat top this really nicely as well. It's that kind of hair texture that you can do a lot of things with. But also with the situation of the crown as well, just slightly off center to the left, it doesn't look like it's going to cause me any problems where it is, because we're not going for a part and we're not bringing it back over the crown. So even at this length, as you can see, it sits almost flat over the crown as well. So that's the type of hair that Nick's got. It moves about an awful lot. So with that, I'm going to do maybe just a finger width away from the crown. So when I say away, I mean towards the front. I'm just going to take a section and just comb that back over the crown, like so. There we go. Now, you want the hair to be wet, not completely soaking, but just enough that you can see the teeth marks of the comb coming through, and obviously you can move it about a little bit as well, like that. All right. Like we said, just enough length that Nick can put product through it. Okay, and you can still ruffle it up, you can mess about, you can kind of make it look a bit textured, you can make it look a bit smarter as well. I think the key element here as well is that, like Nick said as well, he is in a role and in a position in his career where you probably have to meet investors, you probably have to meet a lot of people who are in suits, right? So you still want that element of that. Maybe if Nick's got a hoodie on today as well and a pair of black jeans. Now this hairstyle, when it's finished, I'll probably make it very casual looking. But I think I want this to also look good when he's got a shirt and chinos on as well. And it can just maybe not be as messy. It can also be a little bit more smart, you know? So I think that we've got to find that length that's going to work really well. Now I'm going to show you the length I think will work. You tell me if you like it, all right? Can you see where either side's been taken quite short and the middle's left? You've almost got like a peak here. I think if we took it to the length that it's at already on either side, would be quite nice.
Sounds good.
So I think that's because it's not spiking up, it's still sitting flat here, just about flat. But I think that's enough length that I can still texturize as well. But also it's going to balance the whole haircut out as well. There we go. Now I'm going to point cut into this as well, because with Nick's hair being very straight, I don't want to have to try and get the lines out at the end. So I always find that remove the length, but also obviously make the ends textured as well. I think I always tend to just point cut straight away more than doing a club cut and then pointing in afterwards. I just find it saves me a bit of time. That's all I'd say. Again, keeping the sections the same width, just about a finger in width, allows me to see the section that I've just cut before, so I can use that as my guide then. And that's the end. That's how the finish will be on the ends. So you can see it's a little bit choppy as well. So the good thing about that is that if he does want to, when it does grow out and he wants to maybe wear his hair up a little bit more, it's still going to have like a texture to the ends as well. It won't just be very blunt. There we go, still following the guide. Now with the front as well, as you can see when the hair's coming forward, it's also being cut in that angle as well. So I'm going to comb that fringe down, you can see where it kind of comes to a point. I want to maybe make the fringe about that long there, maybe try and even it up as well through what we're doing through the top as well. So that way you'll have a nice short fringe, but you'll still have a fringe, okay? So that when you have a fringe still, it won't look as sort of crop-like. I think the thing is when you take the fringe away or you take the fringe really, really short, it's what makes a haircut look extremely short and aggressive, which again, we want to stay away from that aggressive word. We want it to be more of a multi-purpose hairstyle, I would say, more than anything else. By keeping that bit of fringe in there, that's going to allow you to do a few things, like leave it flat, put it up, move it to one side, that sort of thing. So you're going to have a few options as well, all right? Pull that straight up. And the final section through the front, pick that up. You see the angle of my fingers as well, I'm pulling the fringe straight up there as well, so it's slight over direction at the front. So if you watch the length at the front now, if I pull it up, and then I comb it down, you've still got length in the fringe. We will shorten that a little bit, but we're starting to level that out a little bit more now as well. It's not as peaked as it was. What product are you wearing in your hair at the moment?
I usually put some wax or clay, currently clay, I think.
Okay. What's the finish you like to achieve?
Matte.
Matte, okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's a good choice for your hair colour as well. Now, that's the thing people don't tend to talk about is hair colour. because certain products don't always work with a certain colour of hair as well. So if you've got anything like my colour hair, which is, let's just say I'm in between colours, shall we say. I've got a few, quite a lot of white ones now, and obviously a few dark ones still as well. Salt and pepper, as they say. I always find something with a little bit of shine works really, really well for me. I'd say it's slightly opposite for you. I'd say something with too much shine could make your hair look a little bit too oily, too greasy looking. So I think a matte product or something with a low shine is perfect for you as well. I'd stay away from the pomades and things like that. Since my hair colour's changed, I'm actually wearing more shine products in my hair now. So I'm staying away from the matte products because I think for me personally, I feel that with the grey and the white and some of the dark bits still there as well, it looks a little bit too dry. And also the white hair tends to be a lot more coarse, so I feel like my hair feels dry. So that's why I'm opting for more of a shine product or anything with maybe more of a medium shine, maybe not too high of a shine just yet, but maybe something with a bit of a medium shine. Like I've actually got pomade in my hair today, but mine's a water soluble pomade, not an oil based pomade. So you've got the hold that I like from the pomade, but when it dries in, especially when you apply pomade on very, very dry hair, like I blow dried this as well with some salt spray, the salt spray almost absorbs a lot of the pomade and it dries it out a little bit, so it doesn't look as pomade-y, not even a word. You know what I mean? It doesn't have the same effect the pomade normally gives you when you apply it on, say, towel dried hair or maybe put hair that you haven't put any salt spray in or something, but more what's dried it out. But I probably wouldn't. You know, I think what you're using so far is a good choice of product. So stick to that if you can. We've got a selection here that I can obviously put in your hair as well, so you can just pick which one you like the smell of. Really, I suppose the smell is such an important part of a product as well. That if you don't like the smell of it, you tend to smell it all day. Even though, say for example, like you've got a client in the chair who wants like a short haircut, even on your first cut, say like your first, say, 10 sections you do through the top, just remember to if they say they want to go shorter, just remind them that you've got to then texturize it, and that could give the element of a shorter haircut as well. So that's what I was just going to say to Nick. As much as we've took a fair amount off the middle, because we haven't took a lot off here, it might not look as short as what it might do, but then we've got to also texturize this haircut in a minute as well, which will also give, like the fringe will be a lot more broken up, the hair will feel thinner as well, it will feel more textured, because it might not seem as short yet, but it will be as the back and sides are cut and things like that as well. So that's the short length, and that's way too short for me, so I think a little bit shorter down, and as we texturize that fringe, that will be disguised. So let's go from here. I'm going to point cut into this fringe as well. Just a little point there, just going to take away. Now we don't have to cover up any recession because it's got a very, very strong hairline. So we can work all the way around. The guy from behind now, but you've also got your point, you're just following the point. And all this is doing is just graduating that length into the fringe. So instead of leaving a line of weight behind the fringe, we're just doing a nice graduation into that length at the front. So it's coming nicely forwards into the fringe. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to point cut into the fringe now. So I'm going to ask Nick to lean back onto my chest like that. And I'm going to point cut into this fringe because I want this fringe to be really, really broken up. So I still want to have a fringe, but I don't want to have like a blunt fringe or anything like that at all. It wants to be a very nice choppy fringe. What it's going to do, that's going to give them the option to wear it down, wear it across, bring it up. It's going to give them the option to do both, but it's going to look like a short haircut because the fringe is broken up. So more than losing the fringe completely, by breaking it up like that, it just gives him the effect that he's got a short haircut. Okay, because before, when the fringe is long, the haircut still looks longer, I think, visually, you know. So by taking that fringe shorter and then breaking it right up and making it really, really choppy and serrated and whatever else, it just gives that effect of it being a shorter haircut as well. Now, while the hair's starting to dry off, I'm going to point cut into the root now, and this is going to thin it out and also add texture. So starting from the back here, just pick it up. I'm going to point cut into the root like that. So you can see the hair that's coming off is there. What it's doing is thinning the hair out, but also creating movement and texture in there as well. Now, if you were to do this with a thinning scissor, you'd be cutting it completely straight. And what I would do is just leave a line of short hair all the way through here. Whereas by going into the root and going at different heights as I'm cutting it, it's making that thinning out a little bit more kind of exaggerated, more than just being lines of hair. And that's what we'll notice as he grows out. You'll notice that if you see anybody who's just kind of went like this and thinned out, you've just got short layers of hair just all the way through, where this is so much more sporadic that as it grows out, you've got texture as the haircut grows out too. So we're thinning the haircut out now being short, we're adding texture into it now as well, like that. So it moves around and there's loads of movement in there, but also what we're doing is giving them longevity. And that's the whole point of the haircut. I feel like it's kind of counterproductive because they don't come back as quickly, even though they probably will do because the back and sides grow out the same way. But I find that the praise from the client and the amount of people who they'll recommend is much more vital. I think the fact that like they've got a haircut that gives them maybe an extra week or two, that still looks nice. Maybe they can't get in to see you, say you're too busy and they can't get a chance to see you. I find that when a good haircut grows out well, you get more praise than you do if a haircut doesn't grow out as well. And I'm just working back into it and just cutting in from the top now. So just doing something very similar, but just not going as deep with the scissor. I'm going to slide cut into this a little bit as well. So again, overdoing the texture on this because we can. Nick's got the hair that we can overdo texture. All right. So what we'll do is while it's starting to dry off, I'm not going to slide through it. I'm actually going to cut through it like this. If I was sliding through it, it'd be quite painful for him because you'd be pulling out the hair. So I'm just going to kind of cut through it. It's a bit more choppier. I just find the texture looks better when you're just cutting into bits like this. Now, as you can see, when that's lying flat, you see all that texture in there. But it doesn't look liney, it doesn't look overly choppy, if that makes sense. You don't see the chunks of hair we've took out. So even if that was lying flat with nothing in it, it still looks okay. So again, that's the third option to this haircut, is that Nick's hair will look nice without product in. And again, I always think a haircut should look nice without product in. You know, an everyday haircut, maybe not necessarily a haircut that needs the product like mine. Mine looks very top heavy without product in, but it is meant to be that I want it like that. I told the person who cut my hair, I'm gonna blow dry this every day. So I am under no illusion that this is gonna look good without product in it, or without me blow drying it. Unless the client is under some illusion that, you know, you're gonna give them my haircut and it's gonna look good by just putting a bit of pomade in. It's not the case, you're gonna have to blow dry it. Whereas I want Nick to be completely aware that this is gonna look good without product in, but it's gonna look even better with product in. Now let's just dry this off because we're working on the back and sides now. Drying it from the crown as well. So you see, by leaving that length in the crown, you can see the length we've left. But it's not sticking up. So as you can see, you'll be able to notice the length that we've left at the crown, okay? If you lean back for a minute, you see that line there? Can you see that? That's where we haven't cut any of that length. And as we pick it up, there's the difference straight away. So that's the section we took before, away from the crown. That's the crown we've left, okay? Now that's what we can do. We can start then to see how this crown falls as it dries. So as we do the back and sides, the heat's away from it. It's not being forced in a direction, and we'll see exactly how this wants to grow naturally. And then we can then cut it to match. Back and sides, Nick, what are you feeling? How short would you like to go? Because we've established the taper on the sides. So established we'll go down to maybe nothing on the sideburns and the neck, but nice and gradual. What would you like to do on the back and sides?
What would you recommend?
1.5.
Yep.
I'd recommend 1.5. It's not as aggressive as what it could be, but I think it's short enough that it'll work for what you want to go for. I wouldn't do it really high and tight. I'd just graduate it down from maybe a 2.5 into a 1.5, but I'd probably do that if I was you.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
As my hair grows out, it's quite straight, so I think if it's shorter, then the haircut will last longer as well.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. Well, it'll balance the top out as well.
Perfect.
I think anything shorter than a 1.5 or a 1 could be deemed aggressive. You know what I mean? Because you start seeing scalp exposure a lot more. So we can take that element away. All right, I'm gonna start with a 2.5. Now, feeling at the back here, the occipital bone doesn't stand out too much. It's about there, as you can see, you push your finger, it doesn't stand out too much. But these bits will grow out quite straight. But I think we need to do the blend as high as we can without looking like a high and tight haircut. Now, let's just check out Nick's face shape, okay? And you see it doesn't really stand out too much. So I think we can get away with going fairly high on the blend on the transition area, as you can see there. Okay? doesn't sort of stick out like wide or anything like that, it just sits out quite flat, so I think we can get away with that. With that in mind, we'll start at the bone here and work up and off, like so. And this is the 2.5. Okay, like that. Up and off. See, it's looking nice and short. It's not looking like anything aggressive though, which is good. You don't want to. So I think the 1.5 will be a nice length for him. Just keeping it nice and low. It'll be work really well into that taper as well. It'll give that sort of element of it being a bit of something else added into the haircut, but it won't sort of stand out too much, thankfully. And down to our 2. And working that up into our 2.5. It's a nice way to do it. Start from the back at the 2.5 and then start from the sides of 2 and come back into the occipital bone at the back. Just a nice flow, a nice rhythm. There we go. Come back into the 2 and working from the side, working that up and off into the 2.5, like so, and working it around to the back, like that, like so. So moving on to our 1.5, 1 guard on, leave it down, start at the back like always, and work from the nape up and off into where our number 2 finished, okay? We're working up and off, and that'll be right at the occipital bone there, like that. So we're not letting that stand out too much, that's not protruding out too much neither. You look from the side, it's bang on where the blend's going to be, just right there. There's the bone there, so we haven't exposed that too much. If I'd have went in with a 1 too high, that would have probably been exposed a bit more. We didn't want 2, 1, just have a nice profile there as well. All right. I think this 1.5 is a really nice length. As you can see, it's not showing too much scalp. Well, if any, it's not showing any at all, really. But that's good because we don't want it to. We don't want it to look like an aggressive haircut. We want it to look like a short haircut, just not overly aggressive. Something that you can wear with, you know, for different occasions, and the haircut's going to still work. So, for example, like we were saying before, if he's got a meeting to go to, or if he's meeting friends, this haircut works for both. And that's the kind of thing that I want to make sure we were looking at, really. Up and off. And we're just pulling away as we get to our number 2. And that's what creates a nice, quick, seamless blend from the 1.5 into the 2.5. Just like that. Pulling away. As you can see, I'm changing the angle to which I'm using the clipper. I'm just going against the way his hair grows, and that removes all the length, okay? That's when we get with a bulk reduction. It's when we go against the way the hair grows. If I was to do this, you wouldn't take anything off, because you're going with the way the hair grows. So now we're going to work on doing our taper. Now again, I don't want this to be a hugely aggressive haircut, okay? So even the taper isn't going to go really high, okay? It's going to start at the side bends and blend up, okay? So 0 line in first. Normally I'd do a taper from about here, maybe about there. I'm going to do it a little bit low down today, because I want this just to finish the haircut off. I don't want it to look as though this is the main focus of the haircut. I want them to see, yeah, we've blended the sides out nicely, but it's not like, oh wow, you've got a lovely tapered haircut. I want this to be, oh, that's a lovely haircut you have, not just one element of it. Same the other side. Like that, around the neck as well. And the good thing about this as well, when you're doing a taper, I always tend to taper necks out anyway. Just depends on the sort of severity of the taper, really. But the good thing about something like this, especially for a hairline like Nick's, if you've got one similar to Nick's, is that it's not symmetrical at all. As you can see, it comes right far down here, then goes up and across and then down again. So even if you were just doing a taper in general, like a low taper, just take it so it's just a straight line. And that way the blend is a lot more symmetrical. The neckline looks more symmetrical as well, because you're not trying to taper out one side and then trying to take the other side and then realising you've gone too high or too low. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to blend in the number 2.5 now into the top, and then I'll work on my edging, and then we'll work on the taper to finish. All right. Running from my 2.5 into the crown. We've got a nice guideline here from where we worked on the sides. Can you see? There's our guide from when we were working vertically around the sides here. Just working this little bit here, we're just blending this bit into this bit. Now I always work down, with any hair that's as straight as Nick's or mine or whatever, I always tend to work down as well, just to cap off. It just takes away any little bits you may have missed. It smooths off that blend. It's really good for creating shape as well, because we want this to look nice and short, nice and high. We want this to grow out nicely as well, so just by capping off the sides like so, it should hopefully give it a bit more time before it grows outwards as well. This time around I've got a guide from the left hand side, which is great. So not just only a guide from the top, I've also got a guide from the left hand side too. There we go. So now we're going to move on to the detailing of the hairline. So I don't think it's worth sharpening off the edges too much, especially around the temple. Obviously across the ear and the neckline you want to look nice and sharp, but I'd stay away from cutting into the temple too much on this. I think we talk about like longevity for the haircut, and we want it to look not too aggressive, we want to look sharp but not too over the top. I think if we were to detail the temple and everywhere else, it might look a little bit too OTT. So I think just sharpen it off enough that it looks neat, I think is what we want to do today. Gonna just strengthen the temple. So you see I'm not cutting into it too much, I'm not altering the shape, I'm not coming in too high and working it around or looping it around. I'm literally just following the natural sort of shape and just trying to strengthen it a bit for him as well. And then we just work our skeletons into our zero and then down into the stubble. Again, same thing around the ears, just strengthen it up. It looks nice and sharp, nice and neat. Just to finish off on the very bottom, get rid of all the neck hair, around the ears as well, like so. Not on the sideburns, but on the neck, only because there's some stubble still there on the beard of Nick, so I don't want to go over that too much. I'm just going to work along here with the shaver. Now, moving on to the taper, I'm going to do straight in with the open blade, lever pull back to a 0.5. I'm going to taper this straight away. Stretch out the skin a little bit and just work up and off like so. Just work down through the lever until we get to 0. There we go. Onto my half guard, lever open. I'm just going to work on the corner like that. Close the lever a little bit. Back onto my one guard, keeping it closed. Just working it up into a 1.5, like so. So what we've created is a nice finish on the sideburns. Nothing really harsh, nothing too aggressive, just something that looks nice and clean and just blends out into nothing, which I think looks really nice. Like so. Just finish the haircut off nicely. Make it up with 0.5. Finishing back on the 0.5 guard as well. There we go. On the neck, we can be a bit more aggressive, just on the neckline here, just a little bit more. Nothing that's going to stand out too much. But put our 0.5 in first, like so. And when I say aggressive, I just mean we can go a bit higher because we've got obviously a wider surface area to work with. So with the sideburns, we don't have much, but on the neck, we do. So work down through the lever, like so. Until we get down to 0. Into the one guard closed, so it's a true 1. Just working that up into our 1.5 or a 1.5, like so. And onto our 1.5 just to go over that to make sure. And then just finish with our half guard as well. Open. And just work through the lever. Like so. It's not an overly aggressive taper, but you can see that the neckline is finished off nice and tight compared to everywhere else. I think it doesn't stand out as the overall thing within the haircut. When you step away from the haircut, you see that there's much more to it than just a taper, or it's the whole haircut working for me. That's really what I wanted to show off. Now I'm just going to finish off with a bit of scissor over comb as well, just to work over the 1.5 into the 2. Like so. I'm on the size 5 comb too, so This goes a little bit shorter than the big clipper comb that I use as well. As we get to the blend, just going to point cut underneath, just to give a little bit of texture in that blend as well. So it still looks nice and blended, just with a little bit of texture in there as well. Go over that 1.5 into the 2 blend. As we get to the crown, I'm going to cut that into play as well. Same thing again, just working into that blend. Now, the last little bit of the crown we need to do now is we pull it from before the crown, so towards the fringe, we pull it back over into our blend here. Just take away that little edge, like that. Pull it out, just take that little point off, like that. As you can see, it's still sitting nice and flat, like so. And what you can do, you pick it up, and we can just point cut into it. I don't want to go right over the crown. All right, how's that look for you, Nick? Is that all right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, happy with the length?
Yeah.
Cool, man, cool. So, as you can see, he's got a nice short textured haircut. There's nothing in this whatsoever, and you still see all that movement and texture in there. Completely balanced, crown's not sticking up, it's staying nice and play. And we're going down to a 1.5 on the back and sides with a nice, non-aggressive taper on the sideburns and the neck, and I think that looks really nice. I think you could, again, take the gown off you, you'll see with a hoodie on, it looks nice. Imagine with a nice summer shirt on, even if you had a suit on, I think it would all work really, really well. Just how you style it. So let's just blast this off, and then we'll get a couple of choices of product as well. And you can pick whichever one you like the look of, or which one smells nice, all right?
Sounds good.
Bit of cold air, just to blast any of that hair out the way. So that's the haircut finished without anything in it. As you can see, it still sits nice. There's no product in that whatsoever, but it's still sitting quite nice. So if Nick did just want to walk out the house after towel drying his hair, that's how it would look, all right? Now, product-wise, we have got, let's say, oh yeah, and this one. So, we've got a texture clay, we've got a matte paste, and we've also got a styling dust as well, like a styling powder as well.
Okay.
Which one do you like the look of based on what they look like?
Maybe the clay?
The clay? This texture clay?
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to smell it?
Yeah,
Yeah, all right. Smells nice now. So as you can see, there's 3 product choices there for Nick, all based on what he liked the look of. And I think at the end of the day, that's very important. So you can't really retail a product if it doesn't look nice. So I'm using the Moroccan oil. This is the texture clay. Now this is what we've already established, that a clay is going to work really well for him. So I roughly use like a pea-size amount, okay? And then I work it all the way into my hands, through my fingers as well, all right? And then I apply it like a shampoo, okay? So start at the crown, like that, and then work it in. So let's do a few looks, okay? So we've got one look which you could have, which is like maybe wearing your fringe up and having it really messy and textured. I like a shorter version of mine, for example, right? Like when you came in almost, but a bit more choppy, okay? A bit of a shorter version of mine, you could wear it like that, potentially, right? Now you could also wear it down and across. So let's just say you're going out for a meeting, right? You've got maybe a smart, casual business meeting, right? Which I'm sure in your game it probably is, isn't it? You know, it's probably a smart casual. Off parting, so not actually using a comb to get the parting, just using our fingers, and we're just having it a bit brushed over. So imagine you've got a nice shirt on, that'll look quite nice as well. You could wear it just down as well if you wanted to. So it just falls onto your face, but then you've got all that texture sitting through the front and through the top. If you wanted to wear a fringe, you know, it's kind of entirely up to you really, however you want to do it. I'll do it the way I think looks nice, just to show you what I think. Almost not looking as you style it, I think will work well for you. It's just kind of having it looking a bit up, down, left, right, all over the place kind of thing. I think that's what will work really nice for you. So a little bit up off your face, a little bit down, just a bit like that. It's just very, very natural looking. A little bit over to one side the way the fringe wants to go, but then just very, very textured through the top. I think that for me is the kind of in-between look for you, I think, personally. But again, it's up to you. You can wear it however you like. You can just, if you leave here, you can just have a little play around with it. It's going to look nice either way. So, yeah, happy, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool, man. Let's see the back and sides. There's your taper. So again, not massively aggressive, but you can see that we've gone down to nothing on the bottom and on the sideburns, into your stubble more than anything else. Awesome. Thank you very much, Nick.